12th episode, Vegas baby, or actually no, I would say finally for the first time since the Las Vegas Raiders right now moved actually to Las Vegas from Oakland. I would say finally this is the first year when they will be led by a guy that won't make it about fancy stuff, that won't make it about fabulous Las Vegas. It's going to be Raider Nation DNA, and look at us. Look at us being physical, look at us being demanding, look at us trying to make your life as hard as possible. We will compete, we won't give up, and that's our DNA. I believe AP, aka Adrian Pierce, Antonio Pierce. Guys, you know me and my Antonio Pierce. Sorry, you know me and my first names. I'm always sorry, but it's like from pretty much like school age. I just cannot figure those one right. But where I I would say compensate this is actually knowing about. I might not know or not remember your first name, but I will know much more about who you are as a person. And Antonio Pierce, I'm super happy that they followed up with him, that he got the reins, that he absolutely deserved, in my opinion, from what he's done with this team, despite him not being offensive guru or even defensive guru, where he has some background, but I wouldn't even say that he will oversight any side of the ball. He is kind of Dan Campbellish in terms of he will set the tone for his locker room. Players bought into him, and I think it's going to continue. And I believe he can be a successful head coach for Las Vegas Raiders, and I definitely wish it to him. From what I've seen, from what I've heard, this is the guy I want to represent Raiders Nation as their head coach. So let's check and take a look how Las Vegas addressed draft, how they did in my opinion, and what it means for their current roster, and perhaps going forward where this team is at. So they started with Brock Bowers, and I cannot help myself but giving this one an A+, because I think there are some parts of this draft pick that are getting criticized, and I feel like I can answer all of the critics, right? So first of all, tight end is not as valuable position. Well, yes, I would say this kind of shows it. There were 12 players picked, all of them offensive players, before Brock Bowers, despite him being an insanely great player. Like, as a prospect, I would say he's better than Kyle Pitts, who went, I believe, 4th overall, like 4 years ago. And yet he goes 13. I understand tight end is not as valuable position, but Brock Bowers is not your typical tight end, right? Like, he is kind of combo wide receiver, combo tight end, kind of can do it all guy, and absolutely exceptional prospect. I would say if the Bears could not get their hands on Rome Odunze, they would have Brock Bowers in their mind, and I was really surprised that Jets didn't pick him up. I would say him would make much more of a difference than tackle insurance policy in all of Fashan, though like I said, I do understand that pick in a Jets video. So the fact that they were able to get Bowers number 13, I think is a steal, quite frankly. And second criticism that I get for this pick is, well, they already had a good tight end, just played his rookie year. I would say this is like similar to Falcons' situation with Tyler Algier. Well, you had your guy that had really nice rookie season, Tyler Algier, Michael Mayer, but now you have a chance to draft a generational prospect, Bijan Robinson and Brock Bowers. So it's really hard to pass on. And I would say here, the situation is even much better than Atlanta, though if Tyler Algier approaches the situation as I kind of advised to him, I would say for Atlanta it's exceptionally good as well, and also for Tyler actually. But here, there is no problem for Michael Mayer, because these two guys absolutely can work together. I would say that they will live and die in a way in 12 personnel. They absolutely complement each other, and Brock Bowers draft, if anything, I would say is beneficiary for Michael Mayer and his development, because now there's clear what they expect of him. You are going to be kind of traditional tight end. You will need to be our best blocking, run blocking tight end, because we don't expect that from Brock Bowers. As well as he will demand a lot of like eyes on from linebackers and cornerbacks. And if you can kind of sneak up to the spaces, I mean, you can excel. So I would say this pick absolutely makes sense for this offense, and it doesn't diminishes role of Michael Mayer in this offense. So like it doesn't make him like useless. I would say it absolutely makes him still an exceptional part of what they are trying to do offensively, with much more defined role in which I believe he can excel. So I am a huge fan of this pick. I would say in normal draft he would go top 5, top 7. This year there were so many great players, especially for offense, that still I had him as like a guy that I would say should sneak into top 10. The fact that you get him in 13, I think it's absolutely great for the Raiders. And then you go to another pick that I absolutely love, and that's Jackson Powers-Johnson. Again, what I like about this pick the most is he's a steal. I had him as like first to second round, so somewhere between 25th and 35th pick I was expecting, especially given that this year guard market went really apeshit in a way, and people like, yeah, we need guards. Well, Jackson Powers-Johnson can play guard, can play center, has like internal inside offensive line flexibility, and is really great prospect. There are some concerns about health with him, but I don't really saw that with his college tape. It's not something that is reported in camp, so I'm really not sure where is this coming from. And second of all, I think he again represents what Raiders are trying to build. We want to play hard. We want to kind of win in the trenches. So, okay, it's not necessarily Brock Bowers, but you need skilled guys as well for this approach. But flexibility, steel, hard hitting player, hard working player, big guy. Yeah, absolutely. I think they absolutely nailed these first two picks. Draft got slightly worse for me with Delmar Glaze and the Cameron Richardson. With Delmar Glaze, it's mostly about you have insurance policy for tackle in Andrew Speed, so it's like, will you see him having an influence this year? Probably no, or most likely no. And do I necessarily see the biggest upside guy in him? Also no. So I'm not saying that he is a bad pick, but to me, round earlier and not necessarily someone that fixes the huge need for you, because unless he switches to guard, though even your guard play is somewhat better set with Jackson Powers-Johnson, but even with that, unless he switches to guard and he stays as a tackle, well, he's not pushing away Colton Miller for several years, and Tyron Ford, like, you kind of hope he can develop. So will the question or will the switch be like from one developmental guy that actually showed some promise in Tyron Ford, we will go to another one in Delmar Glaze? Probably not. I would say the spot would be up there for Andrew Speed, and I would say he actually provides you quite a nice cover-up for that offensive tackle. So I don't really see the fit that much. I don't really see the need, and I also think it's a bit of a reach, but not necessarily like a super bad pick. I would say that's kind of the same how I feel about the Cameron Richardson, and with him it's actually more in terms of, I think there were like, cornerback is definitely a position of need for this team, in my opinion, right? Well, you will see, it is, and I think there were just better prospects on the board and the point where they were picking the Cameron, whereas TJ Tampa, DJ James, who actually went like 2 rounds later. I mean, even like a guy like Tarhib still, I would say would be better picks than the Cameron. So touch too early. I would say he was, like 20 picks too early for me, but that's not a huge knock. It's a position of need, but it's just more, why didn't you pick the other guys that, in my opinion, are better? So that's the knock I have on the Cameron. But I think he will get a chance to actually contribute as early as year 1, because cornerback room here is really not something special. But then they picked Tommy Eichenberg, and the way I would approach, and I think several teams actually do approach linebackers, it's like, we don't want to spend premium on them. The best approach is, let's draft freakishly up at the guys, like from 4th round and lower. Don't spend any freaking premium on this position. At best, let them like 1 year, 2, or even 2 years to develop, to just sit on the bench, play occasionally, like figure it out in terms of NFL, and then year 3 and 4 and on, we will give you a chance. And I think that's exactly the plan with Tommy. Like, he will make some splash plays. I would say year 1, he will get to see like 100 to 200 snaps. In year 2, 200 to 300, let's say, and then maybe he can become a full starter. And I believe he has ability to do so. But as of right now, you have your linebacker room set up without Tommy, and that's perfectly cool. You are spending pick that's not that valuable for future gains. That's where I'm really for this approach. Dylan Albert, Trey Taylor, MJ Devonshire. Not necessarily expecting anything too exciting from these guys. If anyone has interesting chance, I would say it's Dylan Lowe. But I just didn't see what perhaps someone is like talking about it. As early as this year, they can see him as a future back of this team. I just disagree. But like I said, I never wish to players to don't reach his upside. So if it's up there and he can reach that, I will gladly apologize and say good job. Now let's move to offensive side of the ball for Las Vegas Raiders, and it's going to be being oversight by Luke Getsy. And you might be like, why do I have C on Luke Getsy and I'm not lower on him? Because I would say general opinion on Luke Getsy is not super positive. Well, is it really his fault that Justin Fields has his flaws? I wouldn't say so. I would say for what was happening with Bears, for actually Justin not developing his passing game that much, it's mostly on Justin Fields, like doesn't have it. It's hard to develop with him, really hard. And as far as using him to the best of his abilities, I would say run concept for either Justin Fields or even for like rushing offense for that whole Bears team was actually pretty nice. So I actually do expect Luke Getsy to outperform my grade that perhaps someone would say is already too high, given where you've seen other coaches to be. I have faith in Luke Getsy, and let's figure out and let's check what he has to work with. And we start with bottom 5 quarterback room, or bottom 7, and Aidan O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. And I'm a huge fan of Gardner Minshew signing here because I think you want to figure out what you have in Aidan O'Connell in case he is not the highest upside quarterback, but for what you've invested him, he can be very good guy that you build some team around and have really good results. But as well as that, you feel like, well, we are not super bad right now. Gardner Minshew proved that he can play. Like his performance with Colts last year was quite nice. Definitely worth for starting job in the NFL. And part one of figuring out who Aidan O'Connell is, like, can you beat Gardner Minshew? It's point and simple. So you are not committed to Gardner. His contract, while carries some money, it doesn't make you necessarily need to play him. But it puts a pressure, and I think like good type of pressure on Aidan O'Connell for these two guys to battle it out, to see who is better fit for Luke Getsy and offense and his weaponry. But neither one of these guys, I would say, is anything special as of right now, and either one of them, I really don't see it even in the future. So Aidan O'Connell probably has a bigger upside. We kind of know what Gardner is. So like it's on one side, it's one of the room that gets you the least excited. On the other, I still agree with this approach, because if Aidan O'Connell beats Gardner Minshew, it probably means he is quite good in terms of he can reach 22nd, 24th best QB as early as the season, and perhaps later in his career like top 15, top 16, with really close to zero investment in him. And you can then decide whether you want to pay such a player. And if he's not that guy, then you get Gardner Minshew, like 26th best QB in the league right now, that will allow you to look quite nice offensively because of the weaponry he has around him. So does quarterback means any plus for this team? No, it's one of the worst rooms, but still, I would say for what they have as an options, this absolutely makes sense. If you are not committed to it, you can go and find your guy next draft or draft after that if you don't think these guys are it, as well as they, either of them can hit and be kind of good option for you. And those guys will have their job eased up by several great, especially passing weapons that they have. But let's start with this running back room. And it's really not something special. Like Zamir White, he showed some things behind Josh Jacobs last year. He's going to be their feature back. Can he do it? Is he positioned necessarily well enough to do it? Luke Getsy and this offensive line, I would say we will know what Zamir White is or isn't by the end of the season. Is he future number one back for you for at least another couple of seasons, or we took a chance and he just isn't that guy? Not sure what the answer is going to be. As of right now, he is, I would say, bottom 3 starting running back for any team in this league. But again, I'm not against this. Abdullah, Alexander Mattison, and Dylan Laubers, we've talked about him. Alexander Mattison was really poor last year. Amir had some flashes, but neither of them gets me excited. So I can see why, like someone like why Dylan Laubers could not make this room better. Yeah, but it's more this room is quite bad rather than Dylan Laubers is any special prospect. So for what it's worth, I would say they are they are not in risk of injury. So if one guy goes down, they have another one that can give you some play, but this room also doesn't get you almost any excitement, beside perhaps Zamir White potential upside that could be under Luke Getsy and with full-time starting job actually found. But that's kind of all the bad news for this offense kind of stops there, because now we talking, and we start with Davante Adams. Who has not seen series Receiver on Netflix? I'm not saying stop this video. I would say after this video, let's go and watch it. If you are a huge fan of football or even a football nerd like I am, it's must watch. You want to know how the players respond to cameras, how they look through the season, and I think it's really nice documentary, just as quarterback was last year. We've seen a bit more of Davante Adams, a bit more of his personal life, and if anything, I'm a bigger fan of Davante Adams than I was pre this documentary, though I understand that most of the time that's also what the documents wanted to show. We want to improve public image. It's not that Davante's public image was bad or anything. He had a down year last year, let's face it, but for first part of the season it was like, hey, I'm freaking open, Jimmy, here, please, there is no one around me, like 10 yards, and Jimmy was like, no, he could not deliver. Devonta was visibly frustrated, and it's hard to blame him. Like, yeah, you can say as of a leader, you want him to, lead rather than be frustrated. But man, oh man, this was it was really hard. It was really hard to watch some of the parts of early Raiders offense because of what a great job Devonta was making in terms of separation, and it was just like ball is like thrown to the ground, or he's not even targeted. What worried me more about was his drops later in the season, where they were able to focus the offense to him, and he did not necessarily deliver as much as you would like from an elite starter, as Devonta definitely is. So he's not getting younger, but I think he's bought in to this new culture in Las Vegas, and with Aiden and Gardner, I think he will develop a better chemistry than he had with Jimmy, and I expect him to bounce back this season. But he's definitely someone to watch, to maybe see him falling from that pedestal in terms of elite starter status. I would say he's probably like the only one elite starter that I, in terms of wide receivers, that I actually have on watch to perhaps lower his grade. Perhaps G Moore could be the second one. But with Devonta, I would say it's the most probable one. But even with that, with me saying that, I think it's still more likely than not that he won't fall off and he will bounce back this season. I truly believe that. And the beauty of this offense is their wide receivers, at least their starting trio, makes a lot of sense together, because Jacoby Myers is a very nice complement to Devonta Adams, and Trey Tucker is their deep threat that actually looked really promising later in the season with Aidan O'Connell. So they have really nice complementary skill set, and the only problem there is Michael Gallup, who was supposed to be there, like insurance policy, quite a nice backup option. I would believe that they would still line up with Myers, Tucker, and Devonta Adams in terms of 11 personnel. He retired, and this leaves this room really without any meaningful depth. Like, I'm not sure I trust any of the guys, like Jalen Guyton, Christian Wilkinson, DJ Turner. I have really not great faith. Like, if anyone, like Jalen Guyton, maybe, but the depth here is really bad, and if Trey Tucker cannot follow on what he was last year, we're talking about some problems. But it's not that of an issue, because 11 personnel will be used much less for this team than for most of the teams in the league, or maybe even for all of the other teams in the league, because the group of tight end they have. And it seems like these guys, why am I excited about this group, right? They are just decent starters, good starters. It looks like, adequate tight end room in NFL. Well, yes, but that's right now. Like, I will not be surprised if Michael Mayer ends my year as an impactful starter and Brock Bowers as an amazing starter. Like, these two guys have shit ton of potential they should mesh together really, really well. I think it's almost criminal that I don't have Michael Mayer as good starter. He's one of those guys that I have on watch for as early as week 1, as late as week 2. I will be surprised if I don't change his grade up to good starter. And like, I could say that even with Brock Bowers, with good starter to impactful starter, because, well, he did not play in NFL, but my expectations are super high for this guy, and I really believe he will take league by storm. So I'm super excited about this tight end room. Harrison Bryant has a really nice insurance policy. He can kind of go and play. I would say he's more of like a backup to Brock Bowers than Michael Mayer, but he can do some blocking. Like, it's not like he is absolutely useless in that area. Like, as of right now, It's not the greatest tight end room, but it can be as early as end of the season, top 3 tight end room in the league, and potential is definitely they can be the best tight end room in the league for foreseeable future. That's how much I like both of these guys, and I have a huge expectations from them. Now let's talk about the offensive line, and that's where I'm like with DJ Glaze. Now you can see why I was like talking down a bit that pick, because Colton Miller is your franchise left tackle that you are super happy with. He's not necessarily injury prone. He doesn't slow down even when like edge is starting to hit on him. I think he's 30. No, he's he's only 28. He's not even 30, man. So that's what more you want? Like, he's going to be there for at least 5 years before he starts to slow down, I believe. The only problem you have is your right tackle, Terry Ford. He's close to close to a decent starter. He has potential for sure, but he is a question mark for this offensive line. It's not without reason that he went in the 7th round. So he already outperformed his grade and his like draft prospect, but he is lacking that top physical talent, top physical. He's not that guy. So can he follow up on what was really nice season last year? Because he looked as an NFL starter for sure. We will see, but if he doesn't, they have insurance policy and Andrew Speed, who, for what it's worth, switched to tackle finally from his guard previous like several years with Saints, and played quite a decent football. So if Munford Sagos, you will implement Pete and you are with peace with that decision. That's where Demar Glaze, I just don't see him having that starting opportunity quite soon. And eventually that's what you need to have in case you want to develop as NFL tackle. So overall, this offense, it gets me excited. I am super happy about how like each of those 5 pieces, Devontae Adams, Dre Tucker, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and Michael Mayer, make sense together. Obviously, they won't be playing together that much because it's hard to have 3 wide receivers and 2 tight ends out there. It's not the most practical, especially with Brock Bowers being really not a great blocker, to put it lightly. But I'm excited. Obviously, it can burn down on quarterback play, but that's where, again, I think it's good that you kind of have 2 similar type of players that showed that they can play in NFL both last year, as late as last year. So the chance of them really booming this opportunity and sinking this ship of offense, I would say is actually small. They won't elevate it, but for that you have those guys in front of them. Let's not forget their inside offensive line. Dylan Parham, nice player, like guy that is perhaps like slight minus for your offensive line, but nothing you are worried about. And Jackson Powers Johnson, already told you about him. He's as of right now not stated to be a starter, which is a bit surprising because they have Cody Whitehair to start as their left guard as of right now, who is a huge experienced guy, really working hard type of dude, coming from Bears, where he was the leader in the locker room, but he was really freaking struggling last year. So I'm not sure what this says about JPJ. I hope it's perhaps a fluke in terms of depth chart, or it's like, let's ease up his start in the NFL, and Cody is actually looking really great with this, let's say, more experienced group of offensive linemen, because Andrew James and next in terms of center is like that guy. So let's hope, but it's a little bit of a worry for me that they have Cody Whitehair listed as a starter over JPJ. With Andrew James, you are getting 12th best center in the league, something like that. A guy that came kind of from nothing. Let me check. Where was he drafted? Or like, did he even went undrafted? Yeah. He was undrafted, if I'm not. Let me check. Yeah, he went undrafted and he developed really, really nicely. Definitely one of the coolest stories. Just comes from really no expectation, and through his hard work, he works himself up to the status that he has right now. And even though it's his like 6th or 7th season in the NFL, like I just even trust him to become better. Like that's where hard work what it can give you is like you can develop even in your 7th season in the NFL. So I will not be shocked if he ends up the year as impactful starter. I don't think there's that much behind it because that would be like almost worth a film, from a guy that's projected to be at best solid backup with upside of perhaps good backup in terms of my rankings, to like work himself up, to grind himself up. And again, he definitely represents Raiders Nation, and I'm super happy that he is center of this team. Now let's switch to defense with Patrick Graham, who I think is like slightly under average defensive coach, but not a guy that you should be worried about, but actually someone that, just like Getzi, I would not be surprised if he outperforms this ranking of mine. I think he so far is showing really nice job here with the Raiders. Year by year, I would say that defense looking better, and he got another very, very interesting piece to work with. So I'm excited to see his defense work this season. So let's check what he got and where he has to show that he's exceptional. Otherwise, this can all go to hell. And we start with the edge room. And Mad Max Crosby, guy you cannot root for. Like, you cannot not root for him. Okay, let's put it similar. You have to love this guy. Point and blank. If you are a Raiders fan, or even I would say as anyone who watches football, this guy is insane. Like, he plays his heart off every single play of the game. Like last year, he was injured. He was playing with injuries. Late in the season, there was nothing to play for Las Vegas Raiders, and he was like, no, I will set an example, I will still be out there, I will still play my ass off. He did not allow anyone to like pull him off the game. Like, might it hurt him? Is it the best rational thinking? No, but I would say it's definitely the best for this team because he just sets an example. And it's example you absolutely want to follow. And with him and Antonio Pierce, I do expect that this team, and let's predict the future. I don't see necessarily a Super Bowl upside for this team in the near future. I feel like for that you just don't have a QB, and you have glaring problem in secondary, which we get to later. But they will be a team that you don't freaking want to play against. They will play hard. They can upset pretty much anyone because playing them will hurt. So anytime you are not taking them 100% seriously, they can kick your ass. And they will like to kick your ass. The big thing behind Max Crosby is Tyree Wilson. Like, he was drafted with very high pick last year, first round, like 5th or 7th pick. What was it? I will check on that. But there are reports from Raiders organization, but even from like outsider, 7th pick, outsiders looking at that he spent a lot of time during summer with Max Crosby, and if he can get like 70% of attitude that Max Crosby has, boy oh boy, this guy is going to fly through his potential very, very soon. And his potential is to be, I would say, amazing starter and perhaps even elite one. Like, he has traits to do it. if he would have Max Crosby work rate as of right now, that would be insane. If he can follow up on that work that they've supposedly done in off-season, I think there's something to be worried about if you are offensive lines. And the good part about this, it doesn't stop there, because Malcolm Kuntz, as of right now, he's definitely a better player than Terry Wilson. Again, a guy that's really close to good starter in my status. And he's very nice edge pieces. Like, as of number 2, you like to have Malcolm Kuntz. And there is some room for him to grow. But if Terry Wilson hits and Malcolm Kuntz is your third best player on the edge, that's nasty, because it doesn't, like, this is not like, let's say, Chargers room when you have excellent edge pieces, but the interior is just piss poor, because they went on and signed Christian Wilkins, second highest paid free agent behind Kirk Cousins, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check on this one. And absolutely worth the money. Yeah, he got 110 million. 27.5 average, and he is worth every single penny in my opinion. He is top 10 defensive tackle, probably top 7, not a top 3, somewhere in that range. He's definitely out there. And imagine if on one side of your offensive line you see set up against you Christian Wilkins next to Max Crosby. You are like, well, we should probably kick our center there. And you tight end, you help these guys. So they can be a mismatch problem as hell. And that's where, if Tyree Wilson hits, this becomes almost like good luck for offensive lines, because you just have too much to cover. Like, if on the other side there's Tyree Wilson hitting his upside, how do you cover for that? Like, you have to live with someone one-on-one, and if you are not having an exceptional answer to that, you are fucked. So this defensive line definitely something that I believe will be heart and soul of this team behind Max Crosby. And even though I'm super excited about that 5 with Devontae Adams, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers, I'm equally as excited to see these guys play. So they have 2, let's say, units that excites me super much. The problem is the rest of the team is not that good, but otherwise they would be really, really dangerous team to fear. But yeah, they just don't have necessarily a great QB, and their secondary is a huge issue. Also, it's not like they have someone special next to Christian Wilkins, right? Both John Jenkins and Aaron Butler are guys that will get some of the job done, but they are minus for his defensive line. And if you didn't sign Christian Wilkins, you would be in a very similar situation to Chargers, when the edge pieces we should worry about, but we can really use that let's say middle of defensive line and have our way with them. Well, right now you just won, because somewhere there is going to be Christian Wilkins. So let's follow up. Really one of the most exciting defensive line in the league, with potential to be, I would say, again, it's surprising, because I think there's potential for this to be the best defensive line in football, because they could legit have 4 pieces that need if Malcolm Kuntz is your worst out of these 4, and first one is Max Crosby, second is Christian Wilkins, and Tyree Wilson hits his upside, I just don't know what you do as an offensive line coach, because how do you defend that? How do you protect your QB? So let's wait and find out if they can reach the upside, but really exciting group. Now let's move to linebackers. We already talked about how I view Tommy Eichenberg as a pick, and this is because they have 3 linebackers ahead of him, which is Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo, and Luke Masterson. So even without Tommy, this room is your average or slightly above average in terms of linebacker qualities, because Robert Spillane is good linebacker number 1, Divine Diablo is good linebacker number 2, and you have a good backup in Luke Masterson, which is Like those average or slightly under average groups of linebackers are genuinely, like we have our good linebacker number 1, and perhaps then we have more of like good linebacker 3 playing number 2. Here is, they kind of have everyone at their places doing what they should be doing. And there's really good match between Robert Spell and Divan Diablo. They both can kind of do what you need them to do behind the D line. They will not be an issue. It's not like necessarily they bring you anything like in terms of super upside. That's where maybe Tom Eichenberg can one day be that guy. But really nice constructed room, absolutely makes sense. Won't be a negative for you, won't be a positive. They are just there to do their job. But now you go to secondary and you start with safeties, Trevor Morrick and Marcus Epps as your starters as of right now. And as you can see, I'm not listing even any backups because neither of backups for this team I have any faith that they should be able to hold up against NFL opposition. So you need both of these guys to stay healthy, and even if they do, like, they are not great. Like, they're good, they will get some of the job done, but it's not like they are not a better talent out there than these two guys. So in terms of safety, I would say I rank them as something like a D+, which is absolutely fine. There is no exceptional player that elevates this room. They will get the job done, but they are absolutely below average safety unit in terms of the league. And also, like, I do add like missing backups to the grade. If you had some backups, this would be C-. Without backups, it's D+, because if any one of these guys go down, I just don't trust the other options. And it's even worse for cornerbacks, because your best guy is slot. Is Nate Hobbs. He is who he is. He is a good player. But where you are really worried is those outside spots. First will be occupied by Jake Jones, who is a talented player that has many, or had in the past, many off-field problems. That's why he was let go from the Patriots, despite the talent and plays that he makes on the field. So if he can, let's say, conquer his inner demons, good. There is potential for him to even develop as, hopefully number 2. If he needs to play as number 1, like, you can live with him if he reaches his potential. Like, as of right now, he's definitely not number 1 that you are happy with, like, not even close. But there's at least that for Jake Jones. Like, conquer your inner demons, like, good luck with that in Nevada, but it's not necessarily like he was a gambler. But this organization, AP, Max Crosby, there should be enough leaders to, like, make Jake Jones see the light in a way and follow up on that. But the problem is, like, you don't really have a number 2. Like, as of right now, it's probably Jacorian Bennett who is set to start, and that's a problem. Like, I mean, I would be okay with him as my 4th piece. Like, good backup is really, because he showed some flashes last year, as you can see. But I just don't see it in his game, like, overall. Like, as your number 2, I think that's a problem. Like, I don't see any worse number 2 than Jacorian Bennett as of right now in the league. Like, even when we talk in terms of outside corners, even if we put like Washington into discussion, I think Jacorian Bennett is the worst. Does it mean he cannot hold on? Like, if he will play like he did last year, it's probably good enough. Though, like, passer rating against him, 146.6, that's not that far away from perfect passing rating. So if people targeted Jacorian Bennett, it was not nice. Though what can like give you hope is his coverage grade was actually quite good. So it's more like the guys were coming down with tough catches rather than he was not covering anything, right? So maybe if he follows up on that, those numbers can go down, and as your number 2, you can live with that. As of right now, I think that's glaring weakness that can really strike down the season for this team, because MJ Devonshire, Declan Richardson, they have like Brandon Fassison as their backup as well. It's the same story or even worse than Jacqueline Bennett in my opinion. So good luck. You will need it. Obviously the hope is, well, our edge pieces or like pass rush will get to the QB, so we will protect Jacqueline Bennett from that. And that's definitely what can happen. Like when we talk about upside, perhaps you can cover for the lackluster secondary with the exceptional pass rush that you are trying to create. But as of right now, am I worried about this room? Hell yes. Hell freaking yes. So that's roster breakdown for this team. What's their floor? What's their upside? And what's their like future road to Super Bowl prediction? So their floor. I would say is just 5 wins. I really want to say 6, but with secondary being one of the worst in the league, with AP, as much as I like him, it's different kind of animal if you go from interim head coach to actual head coach to go through the whole offseason. Like, it should get better, but is there a chance that the spark, the magic that was there for a couple of weeks, now when it's the whole year, players worry more about contracts, like they have perhaps other stuff in their mind rather than, let's finish this season with dignity, let's fight hard because this guy is a great model for us. That's where I'm like, it could not go out well. Like, he doesn't necessarily have the experience. So I'm rooting for the guy. I don't believe it's going to happen, but I definitely cannot rule it out without like reasonable doubt, where I'm like, do I believe there is like 20% of chance of this happening? For sure. So that's where I'm like, I think the floor is 5 wins, because you don't have a QBs that would like will you to win, and you have several, like at least some glaring weakness in terms of your secondary. So I would say 5 wins, even though your division, like you have at least 2 teams absolutely playable, and you should really not go down less than 2-4 in this division. But still, that schedule is not even like super easy. What's their upside? I would go 9 wins. I can see them like stealing some games from really good team because of the attitude and having their way, even with like Chargers and Broncos in this division, to at least go 3-1 against them. So 9 win, I think it's reasonable ceiling, because again, if the pass rush can protect the secondary, if Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell is like about the 20 best QB in the league type of mark, which I see that it can happen, and you just put the ball out to your weapons and you let your pass rush cook, I can see you winning 9 games. I can see you, like, unlike with Broncos, I can definitely see you beating Chiefs, because they won't like this attitude. This is like, playing against Raiders will hurt. It's gonna be hard. In terms of like road to Super Bowls, actual Super Bowl upside, that's where I'm, as much as I'm like excited about this team, as much as I will most likely enjoy watching them, because there's so many really nice pieces about them. I don't see a Super Bowl within their side for next couple of years, unless Aiden O'Connell absolutely surprised me, or they will find a QB in next year's draft. So I'm super happy that there is an identity. We play hard, our defensive line is exceptional, let's move from there. But I just don't see that upside of having a QB that you can win Super Bowl with. I don't really see that with either Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. So you are poised to be good. They are poised to be I would say, fun too. I think they are definitely poised to bring hope towards Raiders Nation because they will not be fancy, they will be hardworking, and it's something that the franchise fan will appreciate. But not necessarily. I don't think it's going to be necessarily enough to make them Super Bowl contender in like next 3 years. Though I would wish it to a guy like Mike Crosby for sure. So that's my Raiders. As much as we went positive about them pretty much the whole way, then this kind of on a negative note because it's fun. It's really a refreshing approach here, but I don't see Super Bowl in there. See you guys with the next one. Thank you for listening. Let me know in the comment how do you feel about Raiders as of right now. Bye.